about the good times, not about the bad times. And
I picture you right here, right next to me.
I think about it all the time to remind me. Just breathe, just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. Can you feel me? One more night and I won't be here to take your breath away. One more fight and I quit this time. You take my breath away.
Every time I think we'll find a way,
I think about the bad times, not about the good times. And
we can't do this again. It's not the same.
I won't think about it ever again. It reminds me. Just breathe, just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. Can you feel me? One more night.
I hate this platform, but when we rolled in, everybody was deadlifting, so I had to take this one, but it's so indented because Jamal motherfucking Browner be pulling 1,500 pounds on this shit, just breaking the thing in. I don't like that, but you know what? I know what you guys will like. I'm gonna teach you guys how to deadlift, but before we get into that, I wanna let you guys know Gymshark is having an up to 70% off sale, 80% if you use Sawyer Klatt, which is a 10%. So you add that on to the additional 70%. Now, I don't know about you, but that's the biggest sale any person on any company does. Yeah, like I was saying, this is the biggest sale of the year. You guys already know it. I try to preach it. If you haven't bought Gymshark products yet, do it now. Black Friday sale is the biggest one to ever happen, all right? All the new products that are coming out, this one, we have actually a full list on the website. And if you actually want to get your products as fast as possible, download the Gymshark app and you can add it to your wish list. So when the sale goes directly live, you already have it in your cart, you just press purchase and then boom, you get it all before everybody. Don't have to do that BS thing with the website. But enough of that. If you guys were using my code, this is my thank you to you, because everybody's been asking me, Sawyer, when are you gonna drop the how to deadlift tutorial? I was thinking, oh man, maybe I should do it for like a paid thing. No, fuck that. I'm gonna give it to you guys for free. We're gonna go over some good cues, some good techniques, and some do's and don'ts when it comes down to the sumo deadlift. Why? Because I hold the world record.
World record attempt.
All right, now, when it comes down to the sumo deadlift, the biggest thing is finding out whether you're mobile enough. I see too many guys go way too wide or way too narrow. So we're gonna break it down on how you can find the correct stance for you. Let's approach the bar, right? Biggest thing is some people go, Sawyer, when you're doing sumo deadlift, do you think it's like a leg press? Do you think it's like this? To be honest, I don't even think when I'm pulling, okay? The only thing that I'm focused on is I just go, all right, I'm gonna get a breath, I go down and I'm gonna come up. As simple as that, right? But we're gonna kinda break down how we get to that level. Because if you're new to this, you're not gonna know that, all right? That's where you see kids just yanking the bar, arching it, and they got cat back. Now, when you come in, you might not be as mobile as I am. What I like to do is wherever I put my feet, can I open up my knees? See how these are opening? See it from the front angle right here. I see too many of you guys pulling in like this. No. We're not doing that. We're pushing them out, right? That's what we want. So, instead of this, we want this, pushing the knees out. That is where we're getting strong. Because then, look at our torso. Torso now, torso here. Shorter range of motion, stronger. Now, we want to have stacked joints. What does that mean? Well, I like to think of a house, right? So when I'm open like this, if you see this, it looks like a house that a 7-year-old drew, right? got the roof right here, you got the walls right here, and then that is where your bread and butter is going. If you don't have that house, then you got a faulty house, and a faulty house leaks, and that's where you lose energy, you lose power, and that's why you have a sucky deadlift. All right, now that we've established how to create the house, okay, we want to get into how can we deal with this under load, right? Now, if you follow with me, we're approaching the bar. The second thing that I notice is you guys are going to the bar either too far or too close. What ends up happening is when you wedge into that bar, the bar goes away from you. That is losing power, guys. We don't want to be losing any power. So this is what I suggest. Make sure the bar is straight. I hate seeing people not pull on straight bars. Curved is not the way. Now, Joey, if you be mind to see, come right here. I want to showcase how close I am to the bar. Some of you guys pull like this. That's a no. Stop doing it. Some of you pull like that. That's also a no. Stop doing it. Look at that. Look at that. That's nice. That's pretty. You know why it's pretty? I'll show you why. Because guess what? As soon as I wedge in, it's off of the ground. If you don't have that and you get too close, this is what happens. Wedge. Oh no, the fucking bar is falling away. It's moving away. You don't want that, do you? No, you don't. Now, if you're too far back, then you get this thing. And then you're leaning back and you're too stacked, you're too falling forward or you're too falling back. So then you have this issue. Oh, I don't have anything. And then you fall and you fail your deadlift. Then everybody laughs at you at the gym and at the powerlifting meet. You don't want that. So what does that mean? You want to get as close as possible, but not too close. Just like when you're having your first kiss, all right? Not too close, but not too far away. See this? This is the perfect one. So I come up here, and this is where we get into our next thing. We're talking about the brace. 90% of young lifters don't know how to properly brace, and that's why I see so many deadlifts go wrong. If you actually know how to properly brace, you can get away with having a crappy deadlift because you're actually using abdominal power. Now, this is how you do it. I like to breathe in through the nose. If you want to breathe in through the mouth, that's no problem. But let's say you do the mouth. And you're going to be using all the air in your belly. If you're like, Sawyer, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how to feel that. Come with me. Go over to your trusty bench press or any bench that you have at your local gym. And what I want you to do is I want to lay flat like this, as if you were getting a massage, right? And in this position, I want you to take as big of a breath as possible. So, and then you're going to keep that breath right in here and put that tongue down, and you're going to be flexing this stomach. Press it in. Try to take this stomach and press. This is the mat. Here's your stomach. Try to push this mat down. And you're going to feel maybe a pop in your lower back. That's all right, but you want to hold that. That is what you're getting when you're pressing into the belt. A lot of you guys put on that belt way too damn tight, and you're actually losing the power and strength to get a good deadlift. So, again, and you're pressing into it and hold. This is a good warm-up. You can do three sets, 10 seconds, right? And that's going to be a good enough warm-up to go into your deadlifts. If you feel like that's not good enough, stay to the end of the video. We got more warm-ups. But again, and I'm holding it, and I'm pressing in as much as possible. Trying to keep as much air in. I'm not doing that because I'm talking to you guys. But that's the thing. You need to create abdominal pressure. That's what's going to create tightness. This is your stomach, this is your belt. Pressing into the belt. We don't need a corset, so we don't want to have it where it's this tight. Look at my rib cage. It's not even working like this. This is way too damn tight. I'm not gonna get strong. I'm actually way weaker here. I don't even think I could pull 800 pounds like that, but when we do this, get a little abdominal pressure in, right? Check this out. A little loosey-goosey, but I get a good brace. 800's no problem. Now that we've covered the little bench cue to help with the brace, now I'll go over it again. We're not trying to put on a corset. We want it to be a belt where we can create abdominal pressure, guys. So this is how you kind of know. You can get kind of like a fist in here, a little hand. See this? See how it is? Right? You don't want to be able to create this much, and you don't want to have it where you can't even get a finger in there. That's too tight, all right? I know you guys want that, but you don't want that in this. Now, see this? This is good. From here, we create the abdominal pressure. Can't get a finger in that. Try to get Joey, try to get a finger in that, Joey. Nope, too tight. Now, with a small step-by-step of the overview of what we've learned today, this is what we go. Bar straight, we walk up to the bar. Okay, we're not gonna get too close, not gonna get too far. Get into this stance that you feel like you can push the knees out. From here, we know we're not gonna be putting on a corset, we're putting on a belt. Abdominal pressure, okay, the belt's exactly where I want it. Big breath, press in, and then from there, this is where it's gonna be a little bit dependent on. I like to take my breaths up top, go in, and pull. If you feel like, hey, I can't do that, I like to get my breath, then come in here, then do another big breath, and pull. That's no issue. It's all dependent on how you feel like you can pull. My pulling style is a little bit different from yours. If you're wondering, hey Sawyer, what's my pulling style? You gotta try it out for yourself. I'm not gonna exactly know. That's up to you to decide. But I like to get my air up top. I feel as if I can just get in and get out. I don't like to be hanging out in the bar too much. So we're gonna do it one more time, my style. And just like that, it's as easy as that. Now, I'm not too educated on the other styles, but I will go on some small topics of what you can do, right? Now, if you are a person who likes to kind of hang out here, chill with the bar, no problem, not gonna judge, secret him. But this is what I want you to do. Make sure you're getting enough air in. Some of these people, the adrenaline's going too high and they don't get enough. They do a little short breath, they'll go, and then they start pulling, and this is what it looks like from that angle. I'll show you right now. They'll go, right? You don't want that, it looks messy. You want everything stacked, you want everything to look good, you want everything to feel good, right? So, if you are gonna start in the bottom right here, take your time, don't let the adrenaline to kick your ass in, big breath, but make sure you're in control of the weight. There you go. It's just been informed to me that we haven't talked about hip height. Hip height is a crucial key to being able to master your deadlift. Joey brought up to me, he goes, Sawyer, we need to talk about this. Too many young kids don't know how to find the right hip height. I couldn't agree more. Now, if you're trying to find the correct hip height, here are some issues you might have stumbled upon. Either the hips are rising too much in the beginning of the deadlift, or maybe you're shooting your hips too low, and it almost becomes like you're squatting the weight. We don't want this. This is a deadlift, not a squat. If you want a squat, go to the fucking combo rack. Yep. This almost pertains to the beginning of the video, which we're talking about setting up the house correctly, right? And in doing so, when we figure out how to push the knees out, also understand how your arms are hanging. That's gonna help with creating how high we want our hips. You don't want to grab too low. See how this is kind of like building in? My elbows are kind of flexing down. We don't want that. A lot of times when that happens, we tend to bring our glutes down lower. When that happens, we squat the weight up. This isn't a squat, this is a deadlift. So, when we're trying to achieve the best hip height, we're also wanting to be stacked evenly, arms locked out, for the most part, tight, but also, at the same time, we want to be aware of where we can hold the bar while also maintain the hip. So, when we're grabbing the bar, the big thing is figuring out where our hips are aligned, right? Are they too high? Are they too low? You want to figure that out, okay? Having locked arms is a good way to start. Because, at the same time, if your arms are bent, you're going to usually have your glutes too low. And then that ends up squatting the weight. We don't want that. This isn't a squat, this is a deadlift. So, if you're having your hands, arms, locked like this, see how my hips are going up? Hips are lower, hips are higher. Lower, higher, lower, higher, right? Now, through that position, we want to also maintain it. There's plenty of things that you can do, like pause deadlift, that can help kind of critique that form over time. But just with one red, one plate, whatever the case is, something super light, where you can get the idea of how it's supposed to feel. Not bringing the hips too low. This is what happens when the hips are too high. Right? See how I'm hunched over? We're almost putting too much emphasis on the quads and we're not opening up enough. This is where you see, I think, sometimes with the conventional deadlifters going into sumo, because they're so used to being able to throw in the glutes, but they're not opening up the hips. So, again, we want to find the perfect position, which sometimes you don't even need a bar to do that. It's just this. That's all it is. And if you can feel this working and you can maintain hip height with a little bit of extension, not too much, not too little, the perfect amount. And how do you figure out what's the perfect amount? Take your camera and do a little 3/4 angle, side angle, and see how are you stacked up. We don't want to be having, we don't want a flared rib cage. We don't want that. But we also don't want to be too rounded over. The only time we typically see that is in a conventional deadlift. Same thing with like a sumo squat or a low bar squat, where you can be hunched over more. But in the sumo deadlift, typically, how you're built, you're going to want to try to stay as more upright as possible, but with this, stacked. Again, with the hip height, I come in, arms straight, and already at this point, from what you're seeing, or we'll do another angle right here, that you can see, I'm maintaining this position. And when I'm grabbing it, this is the same position that I started, from here to here. See how it's pretty much the same? I'm pushing my knees out while I'm grabbing the bar. I'm not trying to bend the knees to grab the bar. That's not what I'm trying to do. You see too many people bend the knees to grab the bar. So they'll go, you don't want that. See the difference between this. Wrong the first time. Right? It's too wrong. I'm putting my hips too low. We want to have it at the perfect position. This is the right way to go about it. See? I didn't compromise my legs. I didn't compromise being too loose. I didn't compromise having my hips too low. Why is that? Because we're not doing this. We're not bending it down. We're not doing that. We're opening the hips up. We're going like that. We're not doing this. No, we're going like that. Do you see the difference? It's a micro amount, but at the same time, those micro amounts that help with your deadlift is going to help in the long run. All right, now we're going to go into warm-ups that can help you get into the position for your sumo deadlift. I know we talked about if you didn't have the mobility, slowly kind of get into that, right? Don't try to go too wide. Again, at the same point, if you feel like, hey, Sawyer, I can't get my hips out like this, we're gonna go and do some warm-ups. Try that, come back to the bar, just with one plate or whatever you feel comfortable with, and see if that's allowed you to open up those hips more. If they don't rush it, okay? A lot of people will have groin or adductor issues because they started off too wide, right? This is a marathon, not a sprint. But again, if you feel like, hey, Sawyer, if I go out to here, I'm too wide, but I'm actually not getting those knees pushed out. Okay, no problem. You start with however you can, you know? I remember when I first started out, I could only do this. And that's no problem, okay? Might not be as advantaged to pull more weight that way, but it's okay, because it's better to get kind of used to the movement and then go right into it and then get an injury. That'll set you back about 4 weeks. Now, let's get into the movements to help you kind of get into the deadlift, the warm-ups. Now, you can probably know about this machine. It's pretty easy, but if you don't have it, stick around. I'll show you another way you can do this. But good girl, bad girl machine. You might know it, your girlfriend might know it, but today, you're gonna know it. That didn't make sense. I think a lot of people don't do this one this way, but it kind of helps me when I've been on long flights, if I've been kind of cooped up, my knees are bent, if I'm in a desk all day, I like to do this warm up. So instead of having it where we're being spread out, right, doing the weights, put the pads right here. And I like to think of the same thing we just talked about with our knees in opening them up. And we're doing that under load. I really like it because it allows me to kind of maintain the same position that I am on a deadlift. I know some of these people, they'll put on one of those Mark Bell booty bands. That's no problem, but I can't go as wide as what my actual deadlift technique is. With this, I actually can. You know, this is pretty much how my stance is. But under load, I can do this. You know, and I also can hold this position, and I'm actually feeling it in here. And what I'll also do on top of it, with what we were doing in the beginning of the warm up with the brace, is combine this all into one rhythm. Because that's, I think, what the big thing is figuring out, hey, can you do all these small little things that add up to big things and then add in to the small weight that then adds up to the big weight? Sounds complicated, but we just broke it down in the video. If you feel like you didn't get it, go back a couple minutes. Now, I just do this. This is all I want you guys to do, is just get familiar with pushing these knees out. And if you really want to get advanced, kind of just work in with, oh, hey, I'm doing this, right? Getting your body into position. I kind of like doing that, especially when I've been on long flights or long car rides. Now, you've probably seen this. Go to the max. Don't go too wide. I feel like a lot of people, they'll go too wide and almost like stretches the tendons, it feels like. Or you'll get almost too mobile for what you've actually been training on deadlifts, and then the whole technique is different. Because let's say you're used to being 70% mobile, but then this gets you to 100%, but you've been training for weeks on end at 70%, and then you're at 100% mobile. You haven't built that technique. That's where we were talking about the hinge. The hinge then has changed because you're wider. The motions change, everything's changed. So it's best to do these mobility things beginning / towards end of the workout. I actually prefer beginning because that's going to set you kind of up for the main deadlift. So get all mobiled up and then do the pull. Doing it after, I mean, that's only if you're a beginner, but maybe that's you. Now, I'll go in like this. I don't go too heavy, but you know the drill. Just warm it up. Warming them up. Oh yeah. Just thinking about that 881 pound deadlift while I'm doing 70 pounds on the good girl, bad girl machine. Oh! But no, seriously, you guys could probably go heavier. It's actually a good warm up. If you don't have this machine, we're gonna do one on the wall. I used to do this back in my high school because we didn't have one of these machines, but I wanted to have kind of mobile hips. I want to be honest, it's not as good as the machine because you can't create anything under load, but it also gives you kind of a different advantage because you're really paying attention to how your hips are set. This is what it looks like. You try to find a wall that you can open up on. And this is a little easier for people that are kind of training in school gyms or backyard gyms or whatever the case is, or even if you're at home. You can do this. I'll just lay down and then I'll put my legs on the wall and then I try to figure out what's my deadlift stance. And then what I'm trying to do is I'm taking my knees and I'm trying to open them up. And I want to try to almost put my knees, trying to touch the floor right here. Does that make sense? And what I'll sometimes do is I'll start off, because it'll be a long day, and maybe I can't go as wide, but I'll just kind of move around in here. I'll squeeze my glutes, squeeze one glute, squeeze the other. Try to move into this, right? Do some breathing, really helps with the lower back. Get blood flow in there, right? And then I'll work on getting a little wider, and sometimes I even like to throw my hands in there, just like how I'm practicing, how I'm deadlifting. This is all a motion kind of thing. And from here, you can sometimes press into the wall if you feel like it. If you want to get a little lower, I encourage you to do it. Look at that. And then from here, you're just maintaining the position. See that? I don't know if you can see this. You'll start off with here, and then out, out. You see that? And it honestly might be a little painful, but that's okay. As long as it's not too painful. If it's too painful, sorry man, this isn't the exercise for you. If you also want to do some of these, that's no problem. I used to do them in wrestling. Seems like it worked. But I also like doing one of these. Putting the leg here, and then like moving forward, and then breathing into it, just. It's actually better when you're on a bench. This is kind of stupid on the ground. Don't do that. This is way better. And then I just move forward. And I just feel this. And then I'm also bracing. Same thing, same feeling that we were having on the bench. Just going up and down. I like doing this. It's good. Feels good. Same leg. Hear that pop? It's because I'm getting old. 23 years old. For our final warm-up, we're gonna go over to the kettlebell section. You can always do it with a dumbbell, but I prefer kettlebell. If you guys are enjoying the video, subscribe, like it, buy some Gymshark with code Sawyer. Black Friday sales fucking huge, right? Come on. Prefer to grab a little bit of a heavier dumbbell. Now, I've used this technique many times, especially when I've injured my adductor, when I've had pain in my back. This has always been kind of a staple. Even when I was 17, I was doing this movement, and then it wasn't until I kind of got back into a normal gym, out of the garage gym, that I found the kettlebells. I'm like, damn, I haven't done this in such a long time. Started implementing it, and before you know it, boom, I was a world record deadlift holder. Now, 2 movements will do. Just one, different way of warming up the brace. I like to do it like this. Grab the kettlebell, and I'm gonna move this way, and then I'm gonna move this way. And what I like to do is kind of have my hand tilted like this, and then tilt it up. And it almost is to just give a feeling of, okay, I'm bent over here, this is where I'm feeling everything getting pulled, but I feel tightness, getting relief from here, and then the opposite. And I'll do about 3 sets of 10. Same thing here. And through this process, I'm keeping that same breath mentality in the brace. So, I'm just letting out a little air. And I'm trying to get the kettlebell as far down as possible. And honestly, I have 0 data to back this up. This is all bro science, but I honestly feel like if I've had tight lats from heavy squats or some bench press, if I do those, I actually can get my arms a little looser, a little longer, and that's gonna help me get a stronger deadlift. Why? Because it shortens the range of motion, and that's what we wanna do when we're sumo pullers. So that's one thing to do with the kettlebell. This is the other one. Is sometimes I have this issue with my adductors getting so tight. And I like to use a kettlebell to warm up before I even approach a bar, right? Before I put on 135 or 155 pounds or whatever the case is. What I'll do is I'll get in like this and I just pull. But from here, I'm really emphasizing the glutes. I'm squeezing the hell out of my glutes. And then when I bring it down, I just open up the hips like we've been using, right? What I taught you, hips. And then I wedge, squeeze the glutes. Hips, squeeze the glutes. And this is a great warm up. Sometimes you might have an issue on your deadlift where you feel like there's a hip shift, and sometimes, not all the time, but it can happen where your glutes actually aren't warmed up properly. Maybe one of the glutes is warmed up more than the other, and then you get a little bit of that shift. Now, that's not always the case, so don't go in the comments and be like, Sawyer, no, I had this, or this happen. Just saying, hey, there's more than one way to skin a cat. This is one way you can do it. So I'm warming up my glutes on this one. Boom. Squeezing the hell out of them. And I'll about do 3 sets of 10. Now, if you guys want to see a part 2 to this video, if I feel like, hey, I got more to talk about, I probably have a little bit more tricks, more techniques to show you guys, let me know in the comments. I'll do it for you guys, because this is what happens, all right?
All right, and
All right, If you also want to see a hook grip tutorial, let me know. That also includes mixed grip, but mostly hip. Mostly hip grip. Last one.
right,
This is
all
the
right.
only one we've had issues
All right,
with.
all right.
A hook grip tutorial, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to do that. Also could go in a little bit of mixed grip, but mainly hook grip because it seems like so many guys do it wrong. That's why they have tears. I don't typically get tears, but you do, and that's why your hook grip sucks and you need help from me. I'm just joking, guys. But if you guys want to support me, use code Sawyer on Gymshark. Black Friday sale, up to 70% off, an extra 10% with code Sawyer. What does that mean? Up to 80% off. Go buy it. Support me. I need your money. Give me it now.